Okay, so we're saying output per worker as a function of capital per worker, okay, is increasing, but is increasing at ever slower rates, okay? Good, and this is because of diminishing returns, also good. Now, we said thank you. Let's say this is Germany, okay? Is the output per worker of Turkey at the same capital per worker level equal to, higher than, or lower than Germany's? Lower than. That was the whole point, right? They have higher human capital, they have higher technology, they use the capital better. So we're going to be something like this. Okay? Deutschland and us. Now, who has more capital per worker, Turkey or Germany? That was easy too, right? Those guys work with more capital. So Germany is at a point like this, okay? And Turkey is at a point, say, like this. And suddenly we see, aha, see? The average Turkish income is a lot lower than the average German income. Good. So this is the level question, right? Why does the average German have more income than the average Turk? Because the average German produces more than the average Turk. Well, why does the average German produce more than the average Turk? Because the guy has more capital. That's this distance, right? And he uses that capital better because he has higher human capital and higher technology, okay? That's this distance. Now we're saying, well, who grows faster, Turkey or Germany? Okay? And the answer is Turkey. In general, poorer countries tend to grow faster. Okay? This is not a blanket statement. Not all poor countries grow faster, right? I'm going to bet that Somalia isn't growing very fast. I know that Zimbabwe isn't growing at all, right? But conditional on doing the same things, that is, doing the same investment, having similar schooling rates, blah, blah, blah, okay? Poorer countries grow faster. Why is that? There are two answers. Let's talk about why Turkey grows faster first, okay? Assume that both the average German worker and the average Turkish worker gets one more unit of capital each year, okay? Who benefits more? Sure, right? That's what concavity means. Give this guy one more unit, it's going to move you up this much. Give this guy one more unit, you're going to barely notice what happens to output. Okay? If you already have a ton of capital, having one more unit changes very little. If you have a little capital, having one more unit changes a lot. Okay? So this is a diminishing returns answer. So this is one. One answer is, if they both get the same capital, the average Turk is going to benefit more, and therefore Turkey is going to grow faster. The other one is, well, who's getting more investment? Proportionately. Whose capital stock is increasing faster? This is tricky, okay? Proportionately, ours is growing faster. Why is that? Because we had this conversation like, I don't know, 20 minutes ago. It makes more sense to invest in Turkey. It makes more sense to place capital in Turkey because you're going to get more benefits out of that, right? Why is that? Well, that's this. Again, give it to the average German. What does it do? Almost nothing, okay? Because the guy is already, this much capital, okay? Give it to the average Turk. You're going to get a lot out of that. Look, why is it that German firms come invest in Turkey and Turkish firms don't go out and invest in Germany? Why is it? It isn't because we're stupid. It isn't because we don't have capital. We do, right? But when you ask the question, I have this machine, okay? Where would I get higher returns on this thing? In Turkey or in Germany? Okay, the answer is Turkey. That's why. But if people are bringing their machinery to Turkey, what is happening to our capital stock? It's increasing fast, all right? So that's one thing. The other thing is, but is Germany not growing at all? It does grow, right? So let's draw this for a second year. Let's say the next year, Germany is going to be something like this. So their capital per worker ratio will not change much, okay? So they're going to be at a point like this. And this is German growth, right? It's tiny, okay? But why is that? Because they are already rich. They're already producing a lot, okay? They've done the right things. What is it going to look like for Turkey? So for us, it's going to look something like this. I'm exaggerating this, but you're getting the point, right? Now, our capital stock grows faster, okay? So we're going to get a lot of benefits from that. This is the Turkish growth, okay? Let's do it for Germany too. This is the German growth, this is the Turkish growth. This is what you mean when you say Turkey grows faster, okay? Three things are happening. One, our capital per worker is growing faster, okay? Two, we're getting more kick out of the capital per worker increasing because we are at a steeper point in the production function, okay? A bit more capital means more to us. Three, our production function itself is increasing faster over time, okay? What is this increase? This increase is what says, look, even with the same capital, you're producing more this year compared to last year. Why would that be? That's the technology bit, okay? For Germany, that has to be the technology bit, right? They're doing it better. Why? Because, well, their human capital cannot increase all that much, okay? Why? Because they're already at very high level. Okay? They're schooled a lot, they have a ton of on-the-job training. The human capital is what it is. Okay? Their capital per worker isn't changing all that much, right? So if they're growing, it has to be that technology is increasing, right? But what about Turkey? Well, we're growing because our capital per worker is increasing a lot, okay? Our human capital is also increasing. That's going to lead to an increase in the production at each capital per worker level. And also, it's easier for us to increase our technology. Why is that? Look, if the average German is going to use a higher level of technology, the guy has to invent this, right? Do we have to invent? We could just look at what the Germans are doing, okay? That also means this thing grows faster, okay? This behavior of poorer countries growing faster, your book is going to call this catch-up, okay? There's a proper term for this. It's called convergence. Yakınsamak. You know this from mathematics, right? Please, right? You do know this from mathematics. Convergence, for the economist, means, look, there are a whole bunch of countries in the world, okay? These countries, or at least a set of these countries, over time look more and more like each other. They converge toward the same production levels. Look, Turkey, if Turkey were a member of the European Union, we would be the poorest member, okay? Is the distance closing? Are we getting towards the average? Yes, we are. That's what convergence is. Okay? The poorer members are growing faster. Therefore, the distance between the output per capita is shrinking. Convergence. Okay? We usually call this conditional convergence. Conditional convergence is, look, you don't expect Zimbabwe to catch up with Turkey, for example. Why not? Well, they don't invest. They don't save. Their human capital, if anything, is getting lower because qualified labor is leaving the country. Okay? That country is not going to look anything like Turkey. Now, this growth business is important for the following reason. I'm sorry. It doesn't make all that much difference whether you grew at 1% or 1.2% for 1 year. Okay? But if you do this for 10 years, it makes a ton of difference. Why is that? They accumulate. Okay? In one case, you're looking at 1.01 to the power 10, right? In the other case, you're looking at 1.012 to the power 10. Because you're taking this power over a decade, this is going to accumulate into something really large. Okay? Something that matters. You could also think of this graphically that says, look, this is one country, this is the other country. The slope of these two lines aren't all that different. Okay? But look what happened. Small changes in growth rates over long periods of times mean a lot. Okay? So growth is extremely important. Because this country is going to fluctuate like this. This country is going to fluctuate like this. Right? Around here, they're just going to look the same. Okay, it's cyclical, blah, blah, blah. Right? Somewhere here, you're going to realize something else is going on. Somewhere here, you're going to say, why is it that the average German worker has so much more income than the average Turkish worker? That's the growth question. Okay? So this has a lot of policy relevance. We want to ask questions like, what could the Turkish government do so that we grow faster? Could it do anything? Look, this is a very important economist question. There are things that you could control. There are things that can be done with policy. There are things that cannot be done with policy. Okay? Is growth one of the policy relevant things? Can you change the growth path of a country by doing better economic policy? Yes. Who's talking? You are talking. Why is it yes? You said a very secure, confident yes, right? So you must know something.
I think there are many things to do.
Oh, many things to do. Well, I'd like to know one of them.
For example, government...
Stop. I'll help you, okay? The answer cannot be, the answer has to come from there, right? I mean, there is a reason why we introduce all this conceptual machinery to help you think. You should be able to think in these terms. If we are going to grow faster, okay, what has to happen? At least one of these three things has to grow faster. Do you agree? I'm talking with you now. Do you agree? What is your name? Necla. Necla Hanımcığım, you get the point, right? If we're going to grow, growth isn't one of those, well, we should work harder and, we should have national unity and birlik ve beraberliğe her zamankinden daha çok ihtiyacımız olan bugünlerde. That isn't it, okay? It's really something very simple if you think about it. We have to have more capital, you have to have more human capital, you have to have more technology. At least one of these. So, which one can you do with economic policy? Which one can the government affect? Thank you. See? This is what this conceptual framework helps you. It tells you that as long as we have this lousy education system, we cannot have high growth rates or high income. Why is that? Why is that? That's exactly the point, okay? And this is an easy question. Look, let me ask you this question. Let's say, take the average Turkish high school graduate and take the average, I don't know, British high school graduate, okay? They both have high school education, same years of education. Which one is more educated? Okay? The fact that you're able to answer this question tells you that not all education are the same. Okay? In fact, there's a reason why you wanted to be in this university and not, I'm not going to name names, right? Whatever university. Not all university educations are the same either. What kind of feelings do we have about the Turkish education system? That was very good. That's the way I would put it. It sucks. Okay? That's a very strong and, in my opinion, accurate summary statement. Right? At least 3 years of your 4 years of university education is spent on undoing the damage that is done to you earlier. That says, while we call this schooling, not all schooling are the same. Okay? If all you learn in your 13 years is, whatever, Türk'ün Türk'ten başka dostu yoktur, right? That isn't much human capital. Now, those of you who've been to Uğur Gürses's talk last week, saw him show results of international equivalence tests. So in the OECD countries, they do the following. They take, say, graduates of 6th grade, okay? Students who just completed, say, 6th grade, and they give the same mathematics test to all of the students in different countries. They give the same physics test to all of the students in different countries, okay? I don't even tell you the results, right? Where does Turkey rank? We suck, okay? We're just like somewhere there, okay? Does that surprise you? Of course. I mean, of course not, right? You live in this country, okay? So there are many things that you don't know about the country. Things like female labor force participation, because in your social circles, that's not like that, right? But you've been to Turkish schools. You know that it sucks. You know that you learn, yeah, you learn, but if you get lucky, if you really have an exceptional teacher, if you're very driven yourself, but you do know that, you read the textbooks that the average Turkish student reads, and you know that, there's not much learning from those books. Now, let's get back to economic policy. What could the Turkish government do so that the average Turkish worker produces more? Look, we're not having this big, deep debate about it's good for humans to have more education. It's good to read the classics. It makes you a better human. You enjoy life more. We're not even talking about those welfare issues, right? We're just talking about dry economics. The average Turkish guy continuously complains that he's too poor, his income is too low, okay? What could you do so that 15, 20 years down the road, it's different? One is obvious to schooling, okay? You have to increase the quantity of it, you have to increase the quality of it. Right? What else, sir? Well, both, okay? If it remains at average 6 years, there's only so much you can teach people in 6 years, even with high quality. Right? Okay. What else?
Financial capital.
I don't even know what that means. What's financial capital? Money. Yeah, that kind of sucks, right? Because I begged you not to use money in this class, right? It is not about money. And you don't need money to talk about finance. We're going to come back to this, okay? But the answer is no. That isn't it. Let's talk about this. So human capital we kind of get, okay? We also kind of understand that some of the human capital that we have isn't quite of the right kind, right? This is the structural unemployment question. We have people with some abilities that are not very good, right? You have to retrain them. It can't be on-the-job training because they're unemployed, okay? So it's not very clear whether you want to call this schooling if you take a, 35-year-old guy and give him new abilities, but it's some training. Well, we understand that one thing that we're sorely lacking is human capital. And this is something that you keep on seeing in different guises in this country, okay? Think of the university buildings. Are they well done? Who lives in the dormitories? How do you like your dormitories? They are buildings, right? Now, did the guy who built them, was he happy with his salary? No. Well, no Turkish worker is happy with his salary, right? But construction workers especially are unhappy with their salaries, okay? Well, has the guy done a good job? When you look at the corners in your rooms, right? Are they actually corners with 90 degrees? Or they go every which way, right? They usually go every which way, okay? So, but now you should be able to think in terms of, look, if this is the product that you're producing, it isn't very unreasonable that you aren't paid much for this, okay? Why is it that the average Turker, something's wrong with me today. The average Turkish worker, that gets condensed into the Turker. The average Turkish worker, okay? Why does the average, say, Turkish construction worker produce these bizarre, weird buildings, where the average German worker makes, buildings the way a little child would draw, right? With 90-degree angles and roof and whatever. Why is that? That's the human capital point, okay? This guy has no skills. Is he trained to be a construction worker? He was just standing there and saying, I would do anything. Well, today you're a construction worker. Tomorrow you'll be picking cotton. The day after, you'll be trying to repair cars, and you'll be doing all of these equally badly. Okay? So this human capital at a micro scale tells you a lot. The average Turkish guy and the average Turkish woman, right, has a very low human capital. And you have to live with these people. And that has an effect on your life. Okay? You call the guy to repair your dripping faucet. He comes, he goes, the next day it's dripping again. Right? Why is that? Well, oftentimes, you slowly learn. There's often one guy around who actually knows what he's doing. The guy who has actually been trained to repair the faucet. Okay? All of the other ones, oftentimes, are a random guy who's just, banging on your faucet. Now, can you do something about technology? Can good government policy, can good economic policy increase the technological efficiency of a country? How? Okay, yes, how? What do you think? If you were the prime minister and you get to do economic policy, okay? Could you do good economic policy so that Turkey has a higher technology?
No.
No. How about you?
Yes.
Yes. Well, I'd rather have you as the prime minister then. Well, what would you do? Ah, you're really the prime minister material. Right. Yes, I would, but I don't know what. Okay. It's very helpful. Subsidies for what?
So at least more, maybe government can produce monopolies to support them to eventually take over.
Okay. At least, at the end you made some sense, right? So you were saying, what we want is our companies, what we want is our I hate Monday morning classes. we want our companies to innovate, right? We want our companies to spend more on research and development. Could we do economic policy such that they would spend more on research and development?
If the government say, reduce the tax level of the companies, the company will pay money for the research.
Good. So this is your subsidy point, and this is the same thing, right? You could say, look, I'm going to tax you, but if you spend on research and development, I'm going to tax you less. Okay?
The US does with that.
And also maybe the declining the interest rates also help to the companies.
Okay. So what is your reasoning?
Like, for example, improving technology isn't cheap, and you get commission. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with that. We'll come back to that, okay? So the interest rate point isn't irrelevant, but that's not the technology point. So look, what do you want? You want your companies to use better technology, okay? That's going to happen if they either A, import better technology, or B, innovate better technology, okay? Can you do something so that at least one of the two is happening? And you guys came up with several ideas, right? All of them making sense. Let me do this. What does TÜBİTAK do? In fact, why do we have an institution called TÜBİTAK? Research, yes, but why? Ooh. It isn't a dependency question. The point here is, if you want higher technology, okay, that doesn't come cheaply, right? It's not that, you go to sleep, you wake up and you say, I woke up smarter today, right? Gotta produce so much more, okay? This is Thomas Edison's famous dictum. It's 1% inspiration, 99% perspiration, okay? You have to work on it. It's not cheap, right? You also know from your 101 class that once somebody gets this technology, okay, over time, everybody will benefit from it. This is a positive externality, okay? But if everybody is going to benefit from it, would you rather be the guy who invents the technology or be the guy who uses the technology? If everybody wants just to use the technology, who will do the invention? Okay? That's why you have to pay some people to work on that. That's one of the things that we've been doing really well, okay? TÜBİTAK has a boatload of money, and they do support research well, right? And that's economic policy. The government is consciously doing this, all right? So you could say, look, you could do a bunch of things. Let me give you some ideas, and then you can decide whether you like these or not. You could A, say, as the government, if nobody's going to do research and come up with better technologies, I'm going to do this myself, okay? I, as the government, will do research and development. Most countries in the world do this. We do that too. Okay? You could do it more, you could do it less. You could also say, I'm going to send people to Germany and to England and the United States and to Japan so that they're going to learn how things are done there. They're going to get their technology and come back. Could you do this? Is this economic policy? You bet it is. Okay? What else? You could say, I want my companies to work more on research and development, and therefore I'm going to subsidize their research activities. I'm going to tax them less if they do research. Okay? So you could do a whole bunch of things. Thus, it turns out that just as human capital is affected by government policy, okay, technology is also affected by government policy. What about capital? What about capital? So this is where we have to think of, where does this capital thing comes from? How do you have more capital? That's a good question, right? I mean, we're talking about this capital machinery, blah, blah, blah, but what is it? How do you have more capital?
Create new banks that will loan to people.
So we could create new banks that will loan to people, and that won't do it. Okay? And the explanation why that won't do it will come in a moment. Okay? But this is a very common problem. Okay, let's talk about this now. We create, sorry, we create a new bank, okay? And the bank gives loans to people. What is it that the bank is lending? What is it that the bank is lending? What does the bank give you? Money. But we said we're not going to use money in this class, right? We are the potato economy. There is only potatoes. No money, no gold, no haircuts, just potatoes. Can the bank lend you anything? Potatoes, of course. I mean, why not, right? This is why you have to be very comfortable with the potato economy, okay? Money is something confusing. Potatoes aren't. If the bank is lending you potatoes, okay, is the bank itself creating these potatoes? Where do the potatoes come from? That's right. Look, let me ask you the question. What does a bank do? No money. What does a bank do?
Some kind of investment, and those potatoes goes to other people that believe that they can do better stuff with it.
I like your way of thinking. Learn this word. Intermediation. Banks are intermediaries. There are people who have too many potatoes. They're not going to eat that much potatoes. There are people who have too few potatoes. They want to use more potatoes than they have. Okay? Is it an improvement if these people come together? The guys who have too much potatoes lend to the guys who have too few potatoes? Would it be a good thing? What do you think? Let's say I want more potatoes. And one of you has too many potatoes. Do I know who? You get the feeling, right? The problem here is that there are a lot of people. In fact, about, what was it? 72,556,312 of them in our country. Right? Do we know who has excess potatoes? Who has saved potatoes? And do we know who needs potatoes? No. Think about me, okay? Think of me as the guy who was extremely productive, therefore had a very high potato income, okay? I ate, I don't know, 80% of my potatoes and saved 20% of it, okay? What am I going to do with that 20%? This is what savings is, right? I consumed less than my income. I saved. What is going to happen to those savings? This young man here, on the other hand, has this brilliant idea. He has this great new technology to produce potatoes. What do you need to produce potatoes? This is why this is a good example. We call them potatoes, okay? So the guy, what's your name? Fatih Potato Enterprises needs to borrow potatoes from someone so that he can begin to produce, right? If he had 20 potatoes today, in a year's time, he would have 100 potatoes. That's a great technology, okay? I have 20 potatoes. I don't know what to do with that. Should we come together? I don't even know the guy. Can we come together? I mean, think of this. I am the guy who saved, okay? And I really want someone to come to me and say, I saved, but I'm not, particularly clever. I'm not particularly entrepreneurial, okay? I don't want to take risks. I don't want to do investment, okay? I don't want to start my own firm. But I want someone to come to me and say, I have a great idea. Lend me your potatoes, and I'm going to make you potato rich, okay? That's what I want. How is that going to happen? How are we going to meet? Let's say we did meet. This guy comes to me and says, I have this brilliant idea. I'm going to produce 100 potatoes from 20 potatoes. Nah. Would I trust him? What's wrong with him? I mean, maybe I would. But, but there's no reason in general why you would just trust some random guy who knocks on your door and says, I have this great idea. Well, Turkish people are known to do that, right? But in general, you shouldn't. So the banks provide a dual service. It says, I'm going to match savers with investors, lenders with borrowers, okay? And I'm going to do this by using my expertise in identifying who has the good projects, right? Anybody could go to a bank or could come to me and say, I have a great idea to produce potatoes. Lend me your potatoes, right? I'm an economist. What the hell do I know about producing potatoes? You all come and begin to talk about your irrigation systems and how you're going to use just the right amount of fertilizer and whatnot, okay? Does this mean anything to me? Sadly, it doesn't. I know nothing about growing potatoes, okay? But the bank does. It's the bank's job, okay? Now, why does it make more sense for the bank to get the expertise in this? Look, if we didn't have the bank, each of us would have to be an expert in potato farming, right? Whenever we're going to lend, we would have to ask ourselves, is this a good project? Would this work? Is this guy using too much water? Would the potatoes freeze? Whatever, okay? If the bank is doing this, the bank needs one guy who is an expert on potato farming. He's going to evaluate all of the projects. And he's going to say, this is a good project, we should lend for this one. This is a bad project, we shouldn't lend this one, right? That's what the bank does. The bank intermediates between savers, lenders, and investors, borrowers, okay? So you understand that. Somebody also earlier said financial capital and whatnot, right? So banks do something very important, very crucial, okay? We learned how important this is in 2001. The rest of the world learned this last year, right? When you use that intermediation, when the banks say, we're not going to lend to anyone regardless, okay? Your economy collapses. Why does it collapse? No one can do business because they cannot get the funds to do business with, right? Now, but you also have to understand that having the banks doesn't do it. You need the guys who will save. You need the guys who will invest, right? First has to come the desire to save and the desire to do investment. What is investment? What is investment? Somebody said money. Oh, I kind of like that circular-ish reasoning. Investment is adding to the capital stock. That is what investment is, okay? This is different from what you hear as investment when you read, say, the newspapers or when you hear people talk, right? Buying a share of Tepe Holding is not investment. Because when you buy a share of Tepe Holding, what happened to the capital stock? Nothing. It's just the existing capital stock changed ownership, right? You own a bit of this capital stock, okay? For us, what investment is capital today is capital yesterday plus investment today minus depreciation of the capital, right? If you use the capital, some of it goes away. You have to put it back, that's investment. You could put more in, that's still investment. So investment is, look, now your national accountant should make sense, right? It says, you produce 100 potatoes. You ate 60 of these. That's consumption, okay? The government ate 15. That's government spending. Let's say this is a closed economy, okay? What happens to the other 25? What happens to the other 25 potatoes? We saved them. Okay, well, what exactly does it mean that you saved them? Are you sleeping on them? Yeah. Yep. What are those potatoes? They're at the bank. Okay? What does the bank do with the potatoes? It lends it to people who would do investment. That's why GDP is C plus I plus G, right? If you save, it turns into investment, okay? Well, it should turn into investment if your banking system is working well. Otherwise, you're sleeping on the potatoes. That's no good, okay? Let's pick up from here on Wednesday, because this is something important to talk about. Please read your book, okay? That's going to make things easier, and see you on Wednesday.